on the digestive system. So I'm just going to go to slideshow here. And let me scroll down to the next slide. So when you look at the functions of the digestive system, we're looking at digestion, absorption, and the process of elimination. So those are the three main functions that our digestive system will perform. So when you're looking at the anatomy of the digestive tract, we have the mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine. I like to think of the digestive tract as basically a very long tunnel. Now, please keep in mind there are other parts of the digestive system that's not considered the tract. So the pancreas, the gallbladder, and the liver are also very important elements of this system. So here we have the accessory digestive organs. So the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. And we'll discuss all of that today. So let's start off with the mouth. So the mouth is where ingestion occurs. So ingestion basically, taking the food to the mouth and chewing it and then mixing it with saliva. This will turn our food into a semi-solid mass called bolus. This bolus is really, really important because it helps with swallowing. If our food wasn't chewed up and it wasn't mixed with saliva, it would be very abrasive to the throat and very damaging. In your mouth, there are three pairs of salivary glands. So you got your parotid, submandibular, and sublingual, and they produce saliva. There are various things you will find in our saliva: mucus, an enzyme called salivary amylase, bicarbonates, antibodies, and then lysozyme, which helps to kill off microorganisms. When you're looking at salivary amylase, this is going to help with the breakdown of starch. One type of starch is amylose, one type of starch is amylopectin, and that's where the amylase comes from. So remember, when you're looking at ACE at the end of the word in this class is going to almost always mean enzyme, but the amylase is going to break down the starch. So what will happen is we'll take our food, we'll break it down, and we will turn it into bolus. From there, we're going to take the bolus in the mouth and we are going to shift it back into the pharynx. And then from the pharynx, it will go into the esophagus. Now, right in front of the esophagus, we have the respiratory tract. So we'll see the larynx, the trachea. Sometimes if we're eating and we are not paying attention, food can go down the wrong track. What will happen is a coughing reflex will get initiated, which will help to expel the food out. Keep in mind with the larynx, there's a piece of cartilage called your epiglottis. And what that epiglottis does is basically when you swallow, it helps to close down that respiratory tract so food doesn't get down it. Keep in mind, however, if we're eating and we're not paying attention, it can still go down the wrong track. Food getting from the esophagus into the stomach, usually we're looking at two different ways. We got peristalsis and gravity. Gravity will get food in your stomach much quicker than this muscle movement. Drink can take, 1 to 3 seconds. Food can take anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds. Now, if someone is eating in a reclined position where gravity's not really helping to get food into the stomach, peristalsis could basically kick in. And this is just movement from the longitudinal muscles of the tract. It's just this downward movement that helps to push food further down our tract. Then we got the stomach. The stomach is a J-shaped structure. And what will happen in the stomach is that bolus will turn into something like chyme. Chyme has the viscosity, thickness, and presentation of a split pea soup. It's a J-shaped organ. Keep in mind the presentation of the stomach can vary based off the height of the individual. So if someone is taller, the stomach tends to sit a little more vertically. If someone's shorter, it tends to have more of a horizontal type presentation. And your stomach, it can hold up to about 1 gallon of food. So please keep that in mind in times like Thanksgiving. You can hold so much food in the stomach that it could actually cause breathing to feel a little labored. Now, your stomach has what's called gastric juice, and this gastric juice is going to have hydrochloric acid, gastric lipase, pepsinogen, and then intrinsic factor. Hydrochloric acid, or HCl, helps to contribute to the acidic environment of the stomach. The stomach can handle that acidity because it has a very thick mucus coat, so it won't get damaged. Keep in mind that type of acidity will damage the next line of structures, which is the small intestine, but the stomach has no problem with it. Gastric lipase. If you see lipe, I want you to think lipids. I want you to think fats. So lipase is an enzyme that helps to break down fats. Pepsinogen will get converted to an active form called pepsin. Pepsin breaks down protein. So if you can remember that P and P connection. So again, pepsinogen, protein. And then we have something called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor helps with the absorption of vitamin B12. As we get older, a lot of individuals suffer from something called atrophic gastritis, which can cause limitations to the amount of intrinsic factor that's secreted, which means they can indirectly have a vitamin B12 issue associated with this, where they might have to get a vitamin B12 shot, for example, because we need vitamin B12. It's very, very important. But if they don't have enough intrinsic factor, there's going to be absorption issues. So even if they are eating enough foods with vitamin B12, that's not the issue. It's an IF issue. Then we have the small intestine. Now, the small intestine is made up of 3 parts. The first part, or the part closest to the stomach, is the duodenum. The middle part's the jejunum. And then the last part is the ileum. When you think of function of the small intestine, I want you to think absorption. And this is just made for absorption. Please remember that anatomy always dictates function. So when you look at the small intestine, you're going to have little folds called circular folds. And why those circular folds are so important is it causes the chyme to move in a spiral pattern. It essentially slows down chyme, so absorption will be at its best. On the circular folds are villi, which are basically finger-like extensions, and then on the villi are microvilli. And what the villi do is it increases the surface area, which essentially increases the amount of spots that we have where food can get absorbed. Now you might be asking yourself, why does she have pictures up? As soon as you put a video on YouTube, there are copyright issues. If I use pictures from your textbook. So you'll have to go back to the textbook to see some of these pictures. I apologize, but it is a copyright infringement issue, and I have to abide by those rules. So enzymes produced by the small intestine, we got sucrase, maltase, and lactase. Now remember, we see the ACE at the end, so I want you to think enzyme. Sucrase breaks down sucrose, maltase breaks down maltose, lactase breaks down lactose. Sucrase can only break down sucrose. So even if maltose or lactose are around it, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a lock and a key. There's only one key that fits the lock. And for sucrase, that key is sucrose. Lipase, again, ACE we see, think enzyme, lipids, fat. So this is going to be an enzyme that helps to break down fats. Then we have dipeptidase, so I want you to think proteins, carboxypeptidase, and then aminopeptidase. All are going to help to break down various proteins that we consume. The large intestine, many different parts of the large intestine. The first part, right, the closest to the ileum of the small intestine, we have the cecum. Then we have the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, the rectum, and then the anal canal. So those various features that you'll find. Main functions of the large intestine will be absorption of water and electrolytes. I want you to think sodium, potassium. Keep in mind, even though the large intestine, one of its main functions is absorption of water, most of our water will actually be absorbed in the small intestine. Another thing we'll see happen in the large intestine is elimination of fecal matter, and then it also helps to house bacteria. Now keep in mind, there's about 450 to 600 species of good bacteria. So you have millions of good bacteria that you will find in the large intestine. These bacteria help keep you from getting sick. They help with the formation of fecal matter. Very, very important. If someone's on a round of antibiotics, I always tell my students, make sure you still get some good probiotics in your diet, because the antibiotics are so good at killing the bacteria. They don't really discriminate. So they're very good at killing the bad bacteria, but they also kill the good bacteria. So we need to reflourish that population. And probiotics are a good way to do that. So here you see it. So probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics are usually the bacteria. type of food items you can get probiotics from. Yogurt, kefir, fermented vegetables. If you like sauerkraut, you're in good shape with this. Prebiotics nourish the good bacteria. They help to support the good bacteria. And here we're looking at inulin. I want you to think, for example, onions, and then resistant starch. Liver, getting into our accessory structures. The big thing I want you to remember about liver, everyone, is the liver produces bile. It makes bile. The gallbladder stores it. The liver produces it. Now, the liver, keep in mind, does over 500 different things. It is a workhorse. But in regards to the digestive system, one of the big things is production of bile, and bile helps to emulsify or break down fat. Also, when our nutrients are absorbed from the small intestine into our bloodstream, and some through our lymphatic system, the nutrients that get absorbed to the bloodstream, they get to the liver first. The liver gets first dibs of almost all of our nutrients via the hepatic portal system, and it deserves it, everyone. Yes, it's the second largest organ of the body, but it's such a workhorse. So it basically will take those nutrients, and it'll either use the nutrients, store the nutrients, break them down, or if it doesn't use those nutrients, we'll ship them off to other parts of the body. Gallbladder, again, if you look at the inferior surface of the liver, you'll find the gallbladder. This stores bile and it concentrates it. What I mean by concentrate is it makes it stronger. It helps to absorb some of the water. What is going to cause the gallbladder to contract so we can get the bile into the small intestine is a hormone called cholecystokinin, otherwise known as CCK. And no, I don't expect you to be able to pronounce it, but you should be able to identify it on an exam. Pancreas. Pancreas is an endocrine and an exocrine structure. Endocrine because it produces hormones like insulin and glucagon and somatostatin. It's also considered exocrine because it secretes products through a duct. This exocrine portion is very important for the act of digestion. So various secretions that will be part of pancreatic juice will be bicarbonate, pancreatic lipase, cholesterol esterase, pancreatic amylase, proteases, and then we got pancreatic lipase. So keep in mind, and I put pancreatic lipase here twice, unfortunately. There should only be one here, but that's going to help to break down fat. Bicarbonate's going to help to neutralize. Remember, the chyme in the stomach is very acidic, and we have to buffer that when it gets into the small intestine, because the small intestine doesn't like that acidic environment. Give or take, it likes an environment with a pH of 6.8. So that's a sharp contrast to the pH of the stomach, which can be as low as 1.7 and high at 3.2. So usually 1.7 to 3.2 is the pH we see associated with the stomach. Well, the small intestine doesn't like it, and it will damage it. So that bicarbonate will help to neutralize it and make it safer. Cholesterol esterase is going to help to break down cholesterol. And then we see amylase again. It's going to break down carbohydrates. But this amylase is not produced by the salivary glands. Instead, it's produced by the pancreas. And then the proteases help to break down proteins. And this will be the end of the presentation on digestion. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and have a great day.